It's another beautiful day, soulmate, and I'm so happy to have you back. So you can see the dress I have here. We are going to be making this dress on this tutorial. Okay, so this dress is a Bubu dress with tassel, and I know you would love to know how to make this. So please stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. So I have this fabric on the table already, and the fabric is folded into four. Okay, so this is the fabric we are going to be using. So you can see it's folded into four, and that is what we're going to be working with, and we're going to be drafting our front and back together. Okay, so I'm going to be measuring my waists and mark. We're going to be needing our waistline. Okay, so also we're going to be needing our hip line. Okay, and I'm just going to label it as shoulder, waist, then hip. Okay, so can you see I'm just trying to make it visible to you. Okay, so without wasting much time, I'm going to be using this starting line as my shoulder line. Okay, so it's a cut together dress, and it implies we're going to cut our shoulder and our sleeve together. So I measure my shoulder divided by 2, and I mark it. Then from there I'm going to be measure the length of my sleeve. Okay, so I want the length of my sleeve to be 9.5 inches, but I'll be adding allowance to it, making it 10. Okay, that's joining allowance. Okay, so you can see what we'll have there. So I'm just going to slope my shoulder by 1 inch. So ordinarily I'm supposed to slope it by 1.5 inches, but because I'm working directly on my main fabric, so I need allowance to join it. So I want to slope it 1 inch. By the time I join it with 0.5 inches, I'll have 1.5 inches at the end. So the wideness of my neck is 3.5 inches. That's what I want to use for my neck width. Okay, and I brought in another chalk to mark. I'm just trying to see if you can see what I'm doing. Okay, that's why I brought in another chalk. So from the neck width line, I'm going to slope my 1 inch shoulder slope here. Okay, I'm sorry the chalk is not really visible, but don't worry, you understand what we're doing. Okay, so I'm just trying to reconnect properly. Okay, so just this is a vintage fabric, and sometimes it's a kind of it doesn't stay one place. Okay, so I'm just trying to get it the right way. So from there I'm going to measure the wideness of my sleeve. So I measure 12 inches, and I'm going to be adding extra 1.5 inches. Okay, as a Bubu dress, the sleeve is not fitted. Okay, it gives a certain freedom. Okay, so you can make yours as free as you want. So this line here becomes our bust point line. So from there I'm going to measure my bust point divided by 4. Okay, this line here. Okay, so I'll just place my tape here, and I'll measure my bust point divided by 4. Okay, and I'm going to mark at that point. Okay, so from there I'm going to be adding extra 3.5 inches. Okay, for ease allowance, and I'm just going to reconnect to that 3.5 inches this way. Okay, can you see what we have? So I'm just going to reconnect down as well. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to divide my waist circumference by 4, and I'm going to mark it on the waistline as well. Okay, so I proceeded to measure and mark. Then I'm going to be adding extra 3 inches. Okay, instead of 3.5, I'm adding extra 3 inches because I want it to give me a little shape there. Okay, so this is my hip line, and I'm just going to divide my hip circumference by 4, and whatever I get, I'll mark it at this point here. Okay, so I'm just going to place my mark there, and I'm adding 4 inches to it. Okay, you know, this is the hip, and I want to have freedom there. I want it to be as free as possible. Okay, that's why if you watch, I added 4 inches instead of 3 inches or 3.5 inches, and I proceeded to connect, as you can see. Okay, so I'm just going to measure what I have here, and whatever I get, that is what I'm going to place in directly on my hem as well. I'm sorry if you observe any noise, it just started raining. Okay, so I proceeded to mark that same measurement on the hip. I mark it on the hem as well, and I proceeded to connect. Okay, you can see as I'm trying to connect to the hip. Okay, so let me take it down so that you can see what we have. Okay, so I will take it up back. All right, so I'm just trying to arrange it well. So the next thing I'm going to do is to get my neck depth for the back. I'm using 2 inches for my neck depth. Okay, remember this fabric is folded into 2, just as I stated earlier. All right, so we are going to be marking our neck depth for the front and the neck depth for the back. Okay, or the same fabric, but we're not going to be cutting the front at first. We're going to cut the back parts first. Okay, the back neckline. So I proceeded to connect with my curve ruler. I'm sorry, you may not. Okay, so initially I was thinking maybe you are not seeing this part, but I think it will be very visible. Okay, so I proceeded to connect, as you can see. So I'm going to place my tape on the shoulder, and I'm going to measure where I want my front neck to stop. So I'm using 8.5 inches for the front neckline. Okay, remember this style doesn't have zip, neither does it have any button. Okay, so you do well to make it as wide as possible so that your head can pass through. Okay, since there is no zipper, no button. Okay, so on that line I measured 1.5 inches. Okay, so if you want the wideness of the plain fabric you are going to replace to be 3 inches, you make it 1.5 inches like mine. But if you want the wideness to be 4 inches, make it 2 inches. Okay, so I made mine 1.5 inches because I want it to be 3 inches. Okay, so I proceeded to connect to the shoulder line of the shoulder side of the neckline, as you can see. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to make a curve around here. Okay, so I'm just going to measure in 0.5 inches, and I'm just going to make a curve around there. It doesn't have any special formula. You're just going to make a curve around there so that it will not be too sharp. Okay, so that is all, and I'm going to cut. Okay, so I'm just going to start cutting from the shoulder slope. I'll cut through the shoulder slope and the sleeve area as well. So I'm also cutting out the back neckline. Please don't cut out the front neckline. So I proceeded to cut, and now I'm going to remove the back one and keep aside. Okay, I'm going to set the back one aside, and we are going to be working on the front part. So I'm going to arrange it and we'll proceed. So I was done arranging the front part. Okay, so now we have just one for the front. So this measurement I rule here, I'm going to take it down straight to the hem of my dress. Okay, so remember I'm making use of 1.5 inches. If you like, you can make use of 2 inches or 2.5. Okay, but I don't think it should be more than that, unless you want to just okay, you can just style it that way anyway. So I proceeded to pin down, okay, so that my fabric stay in place. Then I'll go ahead and measure my 1.5 inches down. So I was not measuring. I decided to make the line very visible with my white check, as you can see. Okay, so I'm just going to make it visible down, and after that I'm going to cut out. Okay, so I'm going to start from this shoulder and cut out. Okay, can you see the shoulder part of the neckline? Okay, and I'm going to cut out. Okay, So once I reach at this 8.5 inches, that is the neck depth, I'm going to notch that part. Okay, can you see? So it's very important so that when we're cutting out our replacements, it will be able, as in we won't get confused, it will help us. So I proceeded to cut the remaining part down. So I was not cutting, as you can see. Okay, so we are going to be replacing this part that I cut out with a plain Duchess fabric. Okay, so you can decide to use any plain material of choice. So I'm going to join the back shoulder with the front shoulder, which is what I just did, and I proceeded to open iron. All right, after joining, I open iron it, as you can see here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to notch on the midpoint of the back neckline. Okay, so I'm going to bring in the shoulder line together and I'll place a notch around here. Okay, can you see it? Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to bring it together. Okay, and I'm just going to measure from that shoulder line um to the um hem. Okay, but before I do that, I'm going to pin down. I'm going to measure from the back neckline, sorry, to the hem. Okay, I'm just going to measure down so that we can be able to use the measurement to get our um combo, that is our plain fabric. So here is the plain fabric we are going to be using. Okay, so I'm just going to cut out our replacement from it. Okay, so while I was measuring, at this point my tape exhausted. I was around 50, as in it got to 50, and my fabric here remains. So I'll just put the tip of my hand there, my finger, and I will proceed to measure. Okay, so you see 7.5 inches. So I'm just going to term it 67.5 on fold. So I proceeded to cut out a very long strip of this black fabric, and I added my stay on it. Okay, I added my stay on it. Okay, I gummed my stay. So it is very long enough to accommodate what we have. So I'm going to fold it into two this way. Okay, can you see? I proceeded to fold it into two. All right, so I'm going to place a notch around this point. Okay, I'm going to place a notch around this point because it's going to serve as our center back neck. Okay, our center back neck, can you see? It is very important. Remember, we'll have a notch around our neckline for the back, the middle of the neckline for the back. So that is same thing I did on the plain fabric as well. So I'm going to measure from that notched mid neckline of the back to the notched uh, front depth neckline. Okay, this depth here, I'm just going to measure from there to the midpoint of the back neck. So I have 13.5 inches here, can you see that? So on this point that I marked, okay, I'm going to measure that same 13.5 inches and mark as well. Okay, so I'm going to mark there, as you can see. Okay, so I proceeded to mark at that point. Okay, so I'll also place a notch there because I want it to, I don't want a situation whereby the chalk will clean off. Okay, So I decided to flip to the wrong side. Okay, so I'm going to flip to the wrong side here, and I'm just going to grab my pin to pin it down. Okay, I'm just going to grab my pin to pin it down. Okay, so I measured 4 inches wide for this. Remember, we cut out 3 inches, which is 1.5 inches on fold. I cut out 4 inches here because we're going to be joining both sides with 0.5 inches. So when we do that, we're going to be having our 3 inches back. So I'm going to be marking on the midpoint of this cut out. Okay, I'm just going to be making a chalk marking on the midpoint, okay, down to the hem. Okay, so I'm going to be doing that, and after doing that, I'm going to sew on that midpoint on this particular place I'm marking. Okay, so I proceeded to sew. As you can see, I said I sewed just on that line where I marked, straight down. Okay, so if you want it to have a front slit, you are just going to stop exactly where you want the slit to be. Can you see? All right, so I mark straight down, starting from the 13.5 inches that we measured. Okay, can you see it? Can you see what we have? Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to flip it to the right side. I'm just going to flip it to the right side like this. Okay, can you see what we have? And I'll arrange the upper part. Can you see that our neckline is already forming? Yes, it is that easy. All right, so can you see our neckline? And I'm loving everything that has to do with this cloth. I mean, everything about it, I'm loving it already. So remember this notched part, I'm going to align it to the notched part of our back neckline, remember, and I'm going to go over to my machine and join it long on both sides. I'm just going to make a long stitch down, holding both of them down. Okay, so it is very important you align and pin down as well, so that when you join, it doesn't move from its place. It is looking very cute already. Honestly, I'm loving it. Okay, so I want to add this same plain fabric for my sleeve. I want to add it on my sleeve part as well. Okay, so I went on to cut out 4 inches also, so that I can sew with 0.5 inches on both sides and have 3 inches on fold, which is 1.5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to place it like this, right side of the plain fabric facing the wrong side of my main fabric, and also after which I'm going to use iron to iron 0.75 here this way. Okay, and I'm going to top stitch on the sleeve after sewing. So can you see, I went on to sew, can you see, and I also went on to iron the 0.25 that I stated earlier. Do you see it? Do you see it? Okay, so I went on to iron it. Okay, I wanted to fold it this way with iron, so I'm just going to place it this way and place it on top of my sleeve, and I'm going to top stitch neatly. That is what I've also done on this part. Can you see? Can you see? I proceeded to sew it neatly. So I'll go ahead and do that and bring it back. So I was not doing that, and as you can see, our dress is so cute already. All right, so the next thing I did was that I also cut my pocket and added to my pocket. So if you don't know how to cut and sew pockets on your dress, watch my tutorial on asymmetrical neckline bubu short dress. You learn how to cut pocket and attach it to your dress like I did here. Okay, so I went on to mark from my shoulder to my I made a marking from the shoulder to my waistline, long 1 inch longer. Okay, so my waistline is 16 inches, and I mark on the 17 inches. That is where I fix my pocket. That is where my pocket fixing started, and the wideness of my where my hand will enter on the pocket is 7 inches. I made it 7 inch. You can make it 7 or 6.5 inches. So I have the tassel here, and I'm going to add it to the center of my fabric this way, my dress, sorry, and I'm going to sew it with my hand needle. Okay, so I was done sewing it. Can you see how beautiful it's looking? Okay, can you see it? Okay, so I'm the space between both tassel are 5 inches. Okay, um so I have this strip here, and I'm going to be using it for the sleeve, as you can see, okay, at the start of this video. Okay, so I went on to cut. I went on to cut, and I have 4 inches long, okay, and 1.75 wide, okay. So I sew 0.25 on one side and on the other side as well, and I'm going to turn it inside out. So I'm just going to be measuring 2.25 from here, okay. I'm going to measure 2.25 from here, and that's why I'm going to be attaching it with this button here, okay. So I'm going to be attaching it from the inside, so just watch the way I'm doing it and you will understand. So go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, drop a comment for me, ask your question if you have any, or send me a thank you message if you don't have any question to ask, okay. And um subscribe if you have not done so, okay. Remember, you don't want to miss out on beautiful tutorials like this, all right. So I went on to attach it on both sides, okay, as you can see. So I sew it from the inside and attach my button on the outside. So thank you so much for watching. See you next time when I drop tutorial. Bye.